People still cheat in Challenge League to this day? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's cheaters in Siege still. It's probably like... Cheating in Pro League has probably happened the last year or two as well. It's not that uncommon. Cheating is sadly very, very prevalent in both casual and competitive. There are more cheaters in Pro League, not just in like in video games in general, than you would like to think. Match fixing, throwing, people paying people off, shady deals, poaching. Poaching's like very big. Like poaching happens in Siege every season. Poaching is when you basically illegally talk to a player and you persuade him to join your team by putting doubts in his head and giving him an offer and stuff. That happens every season in every region, and it's super illegal.
And it's usually who was it against Pones? Like they've just.
I mean, what game was it? Wait a second. Penta versus Sisu on border. Oh, this was the Pro League final. That's not it. Is it this game? Wait. No, it's not this, because this one we won. It's the game where we lost. When you got a bookmark, Sag? Oh no. Oh, they're called Ns back then. They weren't called No, they weren't called Sisu. Yep, so, yeah. Speaking of match fixing, not saying we match fixed or anything. Not saying we might have lost on purpose. But there is one round in particular where a very peculiar play was made by a Rook player. Fuck, what round was it? Is it the final round actually? No, it's not, because that's Ash. It's 120. Okay. Alright, so this is a 1v2 situation. Right? It's 4-4. It's a close game on border. They plant on old border. And we get into a 1v2, which is pretty good. The only issue is one of the players on defense is holding the rotation from spawn, the attacker's spawn. And we might lose the round because of it. Basically, if we lost to Sisu, then they would go to the LAN event instead of the other team that we hated. So we might have lost on purpose because we were friends with Sisu back in year 1. This is in 2016. We might have lost on purpose because we hated the other team and we were friends with Sisu. So we were trying to lose without making it obvious, but Sisu was so fucking bad that we had to we had to play really bad to lose. What was the other team? I think it was a French team. I think if I had to, it might have been like Era Esports or some shit. I don't remember if they were there back then. I don't remember, but it was some other team. Some other team. We gotta investigate it too, because everyone was like, "Yo, these guys are throwing." But the investigation cleared our name. We were innocent. But if the investigation hadn't cleared our name, it would have been pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. It is before BGenius. This is like way before BGenius. All I'm saying is, it wasn't our fault. Because this happens every year. Like, for example, in the SSG whatever game, if SSG won, then Dark Zero goes to LAN event. If SSG loses, then it's like some other team qualified instead. It's not really the fault of the players, but it's the fault of the system and the order of the games. Because like there was a season where if we won our game, then one team gets relegated, and if we lose the game, another team gets relegated. And like either we try our hardest and X team will get relegated, or we don't try our hardest and a Y team will get relegated. Either way, like we get to choose, which is fucked. Like we should never have to choose. You know what I mean? So it was like either we can get Sisu to a LAN event, who's a really bad team and it's our friends, or we can beat Sisu easily, and then like this other team who's actually better than Sisu goes to the LAN event and they're not our friends. So we would rather have Sisu at the LAN event, of course, because like they're a worse team in our eyes. It's a better outcome for us if Sisu goes, because we know we can beat them. So that's kind of like why it's
I think
fucked,
it was
right?
at that point that G2 was chased him off down there.
Teams should never. That's a good C4. Team. What? Well, he sidestepped it. Teams should never be in a position where they can choose the fate of other teams in a perfect world. And obviously, it isn't the perfect world, so that does happen. But you can't blame teams for wanting the better outcome for themselves. That's the fair play. If you can get a really good team to a qualifier or a bad team, you should always want the bad team to qualify because they're easy for you to beat. That's the right play for your team. It's more like a tactical loss than a throw, because you increase your own odds of winning by losing, because the team that qualifies is worse. That's pretty much what it's like. If you were to look at it from like the other team's side, right? Because again, like, let's say you can fight against fucking, I don't know, fucking Messi or your local football guy, you know? And if you lose, then Messi goes. Or if you lose, then local guy goes. If you win, then Messi goes, whatever, right? You would want the weaker opponent to qualify. That's pretty much how it goes. So it's a tactical loss. And it's the fault of the system, really. It's also the fault of the enemy team for putting themselves in a bad position, but different story, I guess. Would an org let you do that? Oh, of course. The org wants you to do it. Why would the organization want you to play against a better opponent at a LAN event? Let's say, you know, like the org wants you to win. If you have a higher chance of winning by losing because the worst team qualifies, the org would want that. Because you have a higher chance of winning. It's only about what you gain. If you get a better chance of winning by losing to certain teams, you should do it because it increases your odds of winning. That's what this entire game is about. Every dollar spent, investment, player buyout, apartment, boot camp, practice, it's all about trying to win. So increasing your own odds of winning by losing is exactly that. That's why it's like a very complicated gray line.
E1D as he rotates around, takes out two of these drones on his way down towards that basement floor. But G2 seem to be
the same with relegation. It goes both for relegation and for pro league qualifiers. Kicking out a stronger team is always going to favor you. Because you get one less good team to worry about. And this happens in every region, in like probably every season. It's unavoidable. It's a natural part of the game. That's why your goal as a team is to play so good that you don't put yourself in a position where other teams can decide your outcome. AKA Darkseer for the major in Berlin. They needed SSG to win to qualify because they lost the game earlier on the season. That's their fault. It sucks, but they could have printed it themselves. So that's essentially the goal of teams, is to like make sure you don't come into that position. That's a great swing. Ogona can die here. He's already gotten enough. Yeah, it's smart until you lose to the weaker team on LAN. Exactly, that happened once. Sisu lost to us on purpose when we were both qualified for seeding, because then they would get second seed and they would play against Black Dragons, who they thought was a weaker opponent, but then Black Dragons beat them. So that has happened before, because seed 1 plays seed 2, seed 2 plays seed 1, so they lost on purpose to get an easier opponent, they thought. And then they lost. So yeah, that happens. That happens.
The problem that they don't really have solved is time. 50 seconds left to go. They need to get access into site.
Again, this happens all the time in every esport. It's not like only our team or only Siege.
On the other side of the soft wall, they know that he's somewhere in